Very great pleasure to introduce François Perrin. He and his brother Jean-Pierre are partners in Château de Beaucaste. It's a family-owned winery that's in its fifth generation. Château Beaucaste is widely recognized as one of Châteauneuf de Pape's finest domains. The chateau bears the name of the Beaucaste family, local to the area in the 16th century, and it was in the early 20th century, after the devastation of phylloxera in France, where when the area began to take on its current profile. Annual production at Château Beaucaste is about 22,000 cases, of which about 1,600 cases are distinguished white wines produced from Roussanne. The Perrins have continued their tradition of innovation from Château de Beaucaste through their interest in Tablas Creek here in California, which they founded in conjunction with Robert Haas, who will be our final speaker this afternoon. They make several trips a year to California, and we were lucky enough to ask Francois to make one of his trips coincide with our seminar today. And so with that, I'd like very much to welcome Francois Perrin.
Thank you, Deborah. I'm very proud to present today Rhone varietals, and especially Rhone varietal of Château de Beaucaste. But I am a little ashamed to speak so bad English with this terrible French accent, and especially in front of this celebrity, great celebrity, English celebrity of Remington Norman, and with my accent is terrible. But anyway, I hope you understand my English. Yes, you know, we produce a wine. It's a family business, and I have the good luck to live in a region where many generations of wine growers and winemaker had made experience before me. Is the reason why I'm here. And where the choice of the varietals have evolved depending on their adapt capacity to fit the different climates, terroir, and also economic choice. We own and we grow in Beaucaste 13 varietals allowed in Châteauneuf du Pape. First is Grenache, Picpoul, Clairette, Roussanne, Bourboulinque, Picardant Blanc, Mourvèdre, Cinsault, Counoise, Muscardin, Vaccarès, Syrah, and Terre Noire. It's a lot of grapes. And if you count all the color variation, there is much more. Grenache Blanc and Clairette Blanche are, Grenache Blanc and Clairette Blanche and Rose are widely used, but also the Rose and Grey Grenache, the Grey and Black Picpoul, but these grapes are extremely rare. Before the World War I, in 1914, most of the production of Châteauneuf du Pape was purchased by Burgundy negociants, more powerful and structured than Rhone negociants. These wines from Châteauneuf du Pape were used to strengthen those from this beautiful region and correct the excess of acidity on difficult vintage. You know, we have not the same weather in Burgundy that we have in Rhone, and sometimes the Burgundy negociants need to have some more alcohol, some more elegance, and it's the reason why a lot of wine of Châteauneuf du Pape go at this time in Burgundy. Yeah. These negotiants try to avoid competition and develop a blended wine perfectly adapted to their needs. Under their influence, a big majority of producers gave up most of all varietal to keep only Grenache that end up representative between 80 to 100% of the plantation. From all times, the varietal used in Châteauneuf du Pape were traditional Mediterranean spicy, which had other grape from other regions with more or less success. That how the Pinot Noir had been tried, then given up. That grapes never get accustomed to the region, to the climate, and to the nature of soil. The land of Châteauneuf du Pape is poor, is very poor, with a lot of stone, a lot of pebbles come from to the Alps. When the Alps growing, the Rhone River was a torrent, and the Rhone River brings this stone to the Alps and deposit in different terraces in Châteauneuf du Pape this big stone. We call rolling stone, because this was rolled by the Rhone River. This land is very poor and is difficult today to know which plant were tried originally. What we know is that the wine Vitis vinifera is coming from Armenia. These varietals that we know today were created by centuries of evolution on the Mediterranean coast. A lot of people are very surprised by the diversity of grapes used in Châteauneuf du Pape, which seems to complicate enormously the culture and the vinification. The marketing effect of the varietal's name is erased. We have to notice also, anyway, that the diversity of the grape is an historical constance in the vineyard around the Mediterranean Sea. Would it be like saying that people come from, would it be like saying that people from Châteauneuf du Pape can choose? Certainly not. The climate from that region is what meteorologists call an excessive climate. The period of heavy rains that coincide with the equinox are often followed by the long drought. In summer, the powerful sunshine and the lack of rain stimulate very high maturity. Every varietal reacts depending on this nature, and that it's why the Grenache give often alcoholic and generous wine. Other grapes, like a Cinsault, are more moderate. Some, like the Syrah, are early ripening. Others are late ripening, like Mourvèdre and Counoise. That climate is so exuberant that depending on the vintage, the quality of one varietals will be compensated the excess or the lack of another one. The most serious study was made at the end of the 19th century by the Commandant Ducos. Commandant Ducos was a Vaucluse member of Parliament and the president of the Departmental Agriculture Society. After many years of experimentation, while he was precisely weighting each species of grapes and he put in each tank, he came out with the following conclusion. He divided he divides the varietal in 4 distinctive groups. The first group, giving warmth, liquor, and suavity, it's a Grenache and Cinsault. Limit in the blending at 20% maximum. The second group, giving the strength, structure, longevity, deep color, straightforward taste, and such cashing finish, Mourvèdre, Syrah, Muscardin, Vaccarez, to blend in the maximum of 40%. The third group, giving freshness, flesh, and specific bouquet, Counoise and Picpoul, limit in a blending of 30%. And the fourth group, composed of white grapes, giving a finesse and brightness, Clairette, Bourboulin, just 10% maximum. That formula was adopted by many producers, but a few factors modified the use. Like I said to you, because before the First War, with the Burgundy influence, the amount of Grenache increased sometimes to level of 80 to 100%. The body, the alcohol exaggerated to sacrifice of the elegance and the finesse. The first regulation in 1927 woke up the common sense of the producers to progressively bring back the ancestral blends. Beaucaste exists since the 17th century, and my family is owner since 1909. So we have followed the global evolution of Châteauneuf du Pape, and since the beginning we have been sensitive to the diversity of our varietals. We have inspired our work from the Commandant Ducos experience, but we have planted separate parcel and not like before a complanted vineyard. Before all the varietal was mixed, but today in Beaucaste we have a block of different grapes. Because this block, it's help to pick each varietals at the optimum maturity. And you know, between the ripeness of the Cinsault, will be around 15th of September. The Mourvèdre or the Counoise, it's at the end of October. And it's interesting to have different blocks because we can have we can separate the time of the harvest. And we vinified all of these grapes separately, and the blend is made after malolactic fermentation, and all of wine of Beaucaste are blended. We never produce a single varietals. It's a tradition, and we want to keep this tradition. But to make you, I don't want to be too long. And if you want, we are going to start the testing of the separate grapes. You know, it's a single grapes. It's a very informal testing. It's a varietals of vintage 2005. That means it's a sample, brut sample come from to the barrels. You have some have not finished malolactic, especially for the Mourvèdre or in process. You have some CO2 inside because it's not finished. It's brut. And if you want, we can beginning to test the different varietals. And I'm very pleased if you have any question to try to answer it. You have 10 glass in front of you, and top left, it's the first that we are beginning. The top left is the first wine is a Clairette grapes. Normally, Claret, it's a grapes pick up end of September. It's not very alcoholic. It's difficult to obtain in Châteauneuf du Pape. 12.5, 13, no more. And sometimes it gives the acidity to the wine, it gives the freshness, but it's not alcoholic at all. It gives the freshness. And you know, in Châteauneuf du Pape, we have a law, we don't have the possibility to pick up the grapes under 12.5. And the claret sometimes is difficult to arrive at this level, but it gives to the freshness to the blending. The Roussanne is number 4. You have top left, the first is Claret, the second is Bourboulenc, the third is Grenache Blanc, and the fourth is Roussanne. We begin by the first row of the white. I will read if you want. Claret, first one, Bourboulenc, the second one, Grenache Blanc, the third, and the last one is Roussanne. Okay, the second is Bourboulenc. Bourboulenc, it's a very white grape. Also low potential alcohol.
Francois, if I may interrupt for just a second. The order you have on your list is not the order you took for your wines, and I apologize for that. We just decided on the order for the tasting this morning. I should have gotten that established beforehand. And so Francois will tell you what the variety is, and then I suggest you just put a number by it. And I should have explained that. It's my fault. Sorry.
All of these white are made malolactic. The malolactic is made on this white wine. And the Bourboulenc, it's, yes, I say to you, low alcohol. It's the color of the fruit is little green. It's a large berry, it's not a small berry. And they also it gives a freshness, the elegance, the acidity. It depends on the year, but we are here on the 2005 vintage. The third one is the Grenache Blanc, a grape that we like because it's not very known, but you know it gives the body, the alcohol, is more alcoholic than the other. Perhaps it's is interesting alone when you want to drink the wine young, but it's a sort of oxidative grapes. That means the Grenache white kept a lot of oxygen and sometimes don't age very well. It's an oxidative grapes, but with the blending we can avoid this problem. But yes, Grenache Blanc, the third one. No, it's Grenache Blanc alone. And you know, the Grenache Blanc, like Roussanne, we can test after, but you have not a lot of acidity on it. The pH is around 3.7 perhaps, but you have a sort of salty at the end of the tasting, of bitterness. I like to have this bitterness, and you can find also on the Roussanne, and sort of salty character, come from certainly from the ground, or I don't know, but gives the freshness to the wine. You know, it's comment on dit salive? Soap, salivé. Saliva. Bon. Je sais pas. But because we have no acidity, we can compense, you know, by this salty character. Excuse me, I don't know.
How does it pronounce one ripen?
Oh, I think it's around 13.5, 14 alcohol. I pick around 15th of September. Yeah. The yield of Beaucaste, it's around in a white around 25-30 hectoliters per hectare. It's roughly 1 ton per acre. 1 ton and a half. And the last 2005 white, it's Roussanne. Roussanne, same thing, gives the backbone to the wine with the rawness, the freshness, not the freshness, the salty character, like it's more salty than the Grenache at the end. And you know, with these different grapes, we try every year, we have just 4, but we have different white also, but with this different, we try to build, I'm not sure the word is good, but we try to find the best blending for the year. It's like painting, you know, we have different colors or different grapes, and each year for Beaucaste, we try to make the best paintures that we think. We are never sure, nobody is sure, because it's a sensitive things. What is wine is an impression, and it's like a painting, and when it's work, it's work. When it's don't work, it's don't work. Yes?
So what do you look for ripeness in the song?
You know, we are not in a place where we can keep acidity like in Burgundy with Chardonnay. And is the reason why we don't go on the acidity, and we don't want to pick up too early. We go just before the overripe, not overripe, but just before, to have the elegance, the roundness in a wine, and we can bring the acidity with the other varietals, with Bourbon, with Claret, and we can adjust but on the Roussanne we want to go on the glycerine, on the fat of the wine. This fat compensates by salty character.
You gave typical harvest calendar was in 2003 or 2004, the hot finish. What did that do? What we smell? What was the impact of the vineyard in the cellar?
We have a lot of difference, you know. We can pick up those, but 2003 was hot, but especially dry. We know we are completely dry farming in Beaucaste. That means 2003 was very dry vintage. And sometime when it's dry, you block the maturity. And sometime when it's dry and when it's hot, it's not obligatory the earliest crops that you do, because we wait, because we have rain all time in France and in Châteauneuf du Pape, and in September we can have some rain. And when we have rain, we can wait, and we pick up, and I can't remember exactly, but for us, 2003 was not early vintage. We finished the vintage the 3 or the 4 of October. In 2005, we began the crop 15th of September to finish 15th of October around. Okay, we can try the red. Okay, we have 4 red of 2005. The 4 red of 2005, the first at the top at your right is a Cinsault. After you have a Counoise, Counoise. After you have a Grenache Noir, and the last 2005 is a Mourvèdre. You have also red, it's a Beaucaste 2001. And at the end of the testing, you have a white, it's a Château de Beaucaste white 2003. Okay? It's okay for everybody? Okay, the first wine is a Cinsault. Cinsault, you know Cinsault. Deborah say you call here Malvoisinois. Malvoisinois. In French, we have 2 sorts of Cinsault. We have a Cinsault we call droit, and Cinsault couché. Cinsault couché œillade, and this is a Cinsault couché, a real Cinsault. The problem of Cinsault, it's it's a big berry. It's a table grapes, but certainly the color is not very. We are on the 2005 vintage, and the color is very present in 2005. But the Cinsault don't give a lot of color, and perhaps it's a shame, because today the market want to have a black red wine. Is the reason why we can find Syrah, Drif, and Shiraz everywhere, because it's easy to have some color with the Syrah. It's not difficult. But I'm not sure, perhaps slowly and slowly, the image is beginning to change. In a word, the people are more interested to test elegant wine. My feeling, I'm not sure, but my feeling today, a small part of the market beginning to have a wine more elegant than more elegant today, and perhaps Cinsault, it's one of the part to give this elegance, this freshness. Fruit, it's in front. It's not very complex wine, but it's a wine to drink, and it can help with a small proportion in the blending. In Beaucaste, we put 3, 4, 5% of the Cinsault. It's very early grapes. It's sometimes we pick up the Cinsault first of September. It's the first as we pick up.
Is this typical for the aroma of Cinsault?
Yeah. Yes. The second is it's the one that we like in Beaucaste, because it's also like a Mourvèdre, one of the latest grapes. It's difficult to ripe, and we pick up this Counoise around 15 to end of October. And in Beaucaste, you know, we have some Grenache, but we love the Grenache, but we love also Counoise and we love also Mourvèdre, because it's difficult to ripe. And certainly the best wine in the world are produced with the grapes at the north limit of the culture. I explain, I'm French. Certainly the best Pinot Noir are in France, in Burgundy, because Burgundy is just at the north limit of the culture. The problem, when it's great here, it's absolutely fabulous. And the great Pinot Noir of Burgundy, certainly you have no comparison in the world, it's my feeling. But only 2 times, 3 times every 10 years, because when it's not ripe, it's not great. And in Beaucaste, it's exactly the same with the Mourvèdre. The Mourvèdre, we are able to produce a huge wine with the Mourvèdre, but when the Mourvèdre is ripe, and it's not ripe every year, but we are more lucky than the Burgundy owner, because we have the other grapes to play. To play is not a good word, to work, because we can change the final blending. And to produce a wine with character, you need all time to be on the border, you know, or to be great or to be terrible. But when it's great, it's great. And it's the reason why perhaps today we found Syrah everywhere, because Syrah it's an easy grape everywhere, like Châteauneuf, like Cabernet. But our grapes in the Rhone Valley are more like a Pinot, more sensitive. Grenache is very close to Pinot sometimes. It's not easy viticulture. It's not easy way to choose the Rhone varietals. But if you love, it's a good thing. Yes. Which one? Excuse me. The first red is Cinsault. The second is Counoise. The third is Grenache Noir, and the fourth is Mourvèdre. And at this time, we have tested only Cinsault, yes, and the second is Counoise. And the Counoise gives a sort of pepperness character, white pepper in the nose all the time. It's not very, sometimes it's dark, sometimes it's not. It depends on the vintage. It's not. This is a dark Counoise, but it's not all time like that. But all time you have this sort of nose, very pepperness, and with some freshness and acidity on it. It's not fat. It's refresh. And also in a tasting, you have a sort of acidity to keep the wine in life. And you know, we have two sort of wine, but I can speak later when we have finished all the four grapes. And like a Mourvèdre, the Counoise gives the backbone to the wine, gives the life. The third 2005 is Grenache Noir from Châteauneuf de Pape. It's more powerful, more heavy. The alcohol is more present. It's a sort of a jammy character, perhaps. sort of also laser character too. And in mouth, it's more round. It's a fat. It's fat, and the Grenache gives a fatness with some fruit and elegance too. It gives a sort of a round wine in the mouth. And the last 2005 is a Mourvèdre. It's also like a Counoise, difficult to ripe. The malolactic is not made on the Mourvèdre at this time. And the Mourvèdre also gives the backbone. It's, you know, we have it's more square in the mouth than the Grenache. The Grenache is round. Mourvèdre is square. And after the blending, it's to try to mix, to weighting the different component of these different grapes. And every year is different. But it's a goal. Yes?
I'm not sure, but does measure cork really down here? Cork.
But perhaps we have another bottle. No? One bottle is cork. Yeah? Je sais pas. There are some other bottle? Yeah? It's around 14. 14. I'm not sure they have another bottle because we pour all the bottle. No?
Did you feel the Mourvèdre got right in 2005?
Yes. Yes. But the malolactic is not finished. Not at all. No, it's very traditional. Okay? And the last red is Beaucaste 2001. The blending of 2001 is roughly 30% Grenache, 30% Mourvèdre, 10% Syrah, 5% Cinsault, and the others, the less important grapes. We can say about the Mourvèdre also that the Mourvèdre, I say to you, the Grenache it's an oxidative grapes. That means that Grenache keep oxygen, but the Mourvèdre not. It's the inverse of the Grenache. The Mourvèdre it's we call a reductive grapes. That means that sometimes the Mourvèdre is closed, is difficult. It's sometimes animal character because it's closed. and if you decant, if you bring air slowly and slowly, it's open again. But sometimes the more red grapes give a very, very, very gamey character. But it's sort of test of aging potential. Sometimes when you have a lot of Mourvèdre, it's wines that you can age. If you have a Grenache, only Grenache, it's difficult to age. Yes? What is the blend? It's roughly 30% Mourvèdre, 30% Grenache, 10% Syrah, 5% Cinsault, and after the other less important, and we have some white in the red too. We use some oak, but we don't want to blind the character of the wine by oak. We use large barrels, foudre, but we don't want to blind the character by oaky taste. We have a good luck to have an historic place, Châteauneuf du Pape, and a name, Beaucaste, and we want to try to keep handmade wine. Is the reason why we don't want to make up the wine behind the wood. And perhaps if we can speak about the wood, certainly the wood will go very well with the Syrah, but I'm not at all a fan to have wood on a Grenache or even a Mourvèdre or Counoise, because the Grenache in a oak, you have the oak and the wine, and it's never blind. With the Syrah, you are able to blind sometimes. With the Cabernet, it's not a problem. But with the wine that we have, we want to keep the character of this historic estate. We produce in Beaucaste, only 25,000 cases is nothing. We have different activity because we produce some Perrin wine of Vieille Ferme also. We are able to bring some wood. But you have, I think in the wine business, you have two styles of wine. You have a wine ready to wear, and you have the wine of couture. And we expect to be in haute couture wine. Yes?
Years in the oak before it's bottled?
We keep, it depends on the vintage because we have between 8 to 18 months. But it's not a new barrels, we change some, but we change some, but we don't want to have a new barrels, or perhaps 10% new barrels each year, even less, 5%. And also it's less expensive. And the last wine is a Beaucaste white. This wine is 80% Roussanne. It's a traditional Beaucaste white, 80% Roussanne, 15% Grenache Blanc, and 5% Clairette, Bourboulenc, Picardin. All time we have this salty character at the end of the tasting. Excuse me?
Wood tanks or stainless steel?
No, we use, we have two parts. We use wood tank to make some fermentation, and during this wood tank we do mostly the Syrah, the Mourvèdre and the Counoise, and we punching down. And we use not a stainless steel tank, we use a traditional concrete tank, ceramic retiled, completely ceramic retiled, very traditional. And in this tank we do pump over. No, on the white is in stainless steel and the part in the barrels. In barrels, we fermented in barrels until bottling. It'd be 8 to 10 months. Yes. The blending is made when the malolactic is finished. We never inoculate for the malolactic. We wait. We never inoculate also for the fermentation. We use natural yeast. It's a very traditional way, and we want to keep this way in Beaucaste. It's not a French method, it's not an old world method, it's Beaucaste. We are able to do other things. We are, like I said to you, we do something in different cellar, because we don't produce only Beaucaste. Beaucaste is where everything starts. But we produce also wine of La Vieille Ferme. It's a brown come from to the Rhône Valley, and also a sort of a style of Perrin wine come from different place of Côte du Rhône. And in this winery, we are able to do difference. But in Beaucaste, we want, it's a choice to try to keep handmade wine. It's very artisanal in Beaucaste. Yes?
Who makes the final decision on this?
I say me because my brother is not here. And also no, it's a work, and Bob has one knows since a long time. Bob was very close to my father, because he's beginning to import the wine of Beaucaste since 70, yes, and often we make some testing with Bob also, and slowly, you know, during the testing, slowly we have an image, and everybody are relatively agree with this image. But it's a long-term process. We'll never know. And we do exactly the same in Tablas too. You know, in Tablas we taste the wine and we decide. And Bob present this afternoon the wine of Tablas. It's exactly the same work that we do in Beaucaste that we try to do in Tablas with different weather, with the California weather. We think we don't want to take the same method, because you have no method. You need to be adapted at the country. And in Beaucaste, this the generation and generation adapt this method. That's it.
Comment on the Beaucaste that we're tasting versus the Homage?
Yes, Homage, it's, we have produced in 89 Homage à Jacques Perrin, and we produce Homage à Jacques Perrin only when the Mourvèdre is ripe. I say to you, the Mourvèdre is difficult to ripe, but when it's ripe, it's perhaps the best grapes for Châteauneuf du Pape. And when the Mourvèdre is ripe, we are able to produce this wine. It's a blending of 60% Mourvèdre, 20% Grenache, 10% Syrah, 10% Counoise. And we call this wine in homage à Jacques Perrin. Jacques Perrin was my father, because 40, 50, 60 years ago, even more, he has the intelligence to plant some Mourvèdre when nobody are interested in Mourvèdre. And today, we take the crop, but it's his work, and this sort of homage means congratulations to Jacques Perrin. Homage is the reason why. And we produce only in a great year, 89, 90, 94, 95, 98, 2000, 2001, 2003, 2004, and 5. Yes?
Questions. The first one, can you comment on the ability of the white wine to age?
It's a very good question.
The question is on your farming practices. What is your approach to farming?
It's a very good question. Roussanne, I speak about Roussanne because Beaucastel is, Beaucastel is known for two things very simple. White is Roussanne, red is a Mourvèdre, roughly. And in Beaucastel, in traditional Beaucastel white, you have 80% Roussanne. That means Roussanne is not white grapes. Roussanne, roux means burn in French. And when the Roussanne is ripe, it's burn. It's even brown. And yes, burn. And when it's young, it's perfect. You have a very honey character, honeysuckle, very elegant, very pleasant flower character. And after 3 or 4 years after the crop, it's completely closed, even oxidized. The color is changing, the color going brown. And if you ask a question at enologist, he says this one is dead. It's good for garbage. But if you wait in your cellar after 3 years until 10 years, it come back, and even the color come back. Certainly, the memory of the fruit go in a wine, and so are the color during one period. And after that, after 10 years, you lose your color. And if you have in your cellar some vieille vigne from Beaucastel, Roussanne vieille vigne, you need to take, or even traditional, you need at this time to drink 2000 to 2005, completely forget 99 until 92. And you can beginning again to test in 92. And in 92, the color is very clear. The acidity is present, more present than in the young wine. And you are minerality, very intense minerality. But it's crazy. And the acidity grow with the age.
Aussi demander de pratique de fermage.
De cultivation. In Beaucastel, we are completely organic growing, like in Tablas. That means that we use nothing. We have just, to sink Prudery milieu, we use sulfur. We cultivate, no herbicide, nothing. It's very, very simple. Yes?
How do you crush red and stamp from?
Yes, we distemp all red. We distemp all the red, and we use a press, pneumatic press, for the white and for the red, the same press. And we use, we put a part of just a part of the first juice of press in the free juice, but the first press. Yes.
Simple question. What is the share of your production that is sold in the United States? That's one. And as the representative of the Château area, are sales of Château grown in the United States? Are they traded with the more interested than before? How is it evolving?
Yes, the sale of Beaucastel, it's around 15% in the state. We need to limit the quantity of Beaucastel, especially in the state. And the image of Châteauneuf du Pape, it's increased a lot. increased a lot for different. First, because the wine is good. Second, because the wine spectator and Parker seems to like Châteauneuf du Pape, and it's a good thing for us. And we can build a statue in Châteauneuf du Pape at Parker, Mr. Parker, in a gold perhaps. No, because I think the wine is good. The Rhone varieties are more interesting. I think the people, the wine is one thing, but when you love the wine, you want to have the difference. And the difference, it's the wine come from to Italy, perhaps, or the Rhone Valley, and is not only Cabernet, Pinot, Chardonnay. And today, the people are interesting. It's a shame, for me, it's a shame to test in a world with a globalization the same wine everywhere. And why we test the wine everywhere? Because the image, the original image was gave in a white by Burgundy white and in a red by Bordeaux. And I'm sure in a place to find the right grapes, Rhone varietals can be a good solution. Perhaps not a huge solution to sell a quantity of wine, but I think it can be a niche. And if you like a wine, and if you are here, it's because you are interested to have something different. And the Rhone varietal can be one way, perhaps not the best, but one. Voilà.
Oh, we still have one more.
Yes.
The red Beaucaste blend seems to have a fair amount of oak, but none of the components.
We use oak, but not a new oak.
What is the additional treatment that you keep the blend to get that oak? Because it's not present in any of the components.
Because because in a component they are just a few months in oak, but they are in oak at this time, and we keep during 8 to 28 months, and slowly it's evolved.
Okay.
Voilà.
Well, I'd like very much to thank Francois, not just for his time, but also for sharing these extraordinary wines with us. Thank you very much.